in the basement again, and this is so much fun. We're joined by Mike Starr. You certainly know the face. He's been in so many gigantic movies over the years. Goodfellas, Dumb and Dumber. The list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And we're going to ask him about some of the iconic people he's worked with over the years. But he's going to be in Buffalo this weekend, 2 to 10 up in North Tonawanda with Bill Cowell in a celebration of his daughter Alyssa's life. We're going to have information on how to get tickets, by the way, for that, and how to be part of the meet and greet and to sit down and chat with Mike. And by the way, I've had the opportunity to chat with Mike for a little bit before we actually came on the air. And man, this guy can talk. I thought I could talk.
Three cups of tea. 3 cups of tea. That did it.
It is so good to see you, man. It's so cool to have you on. Obviously, anybody that's ever watched TV or movies knows you for sure from all the, some of the movies I mentioned. And, you were telling me a story about I think you said you were in Chicago and a group of kids, probably in their late 20s or early 30s, came up to you and brought up the single episode of The Office you were ever in. And they remember you from that.
That was at a famous pizza place, I think, that Guy Fieri went to. That was Nick and Sal's.
Okay.
Chicago. And I was picking up something. Family, I'm trying to think. And there were 5, no, they were in their late teens, early 20s. That's what cracked me up. And I mentioned they said, oh, you're that guy, da, 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 we know you. And I named about 3 or 4 things from film and TV. And they went, no, we saw you on The Office. And they had watched it on Netflix. That was when The Office started coming back big time on Netflix and a lot of shows that people wouldn't have normally known, And I couldn't believe how many people would start recognizing me from The Office, from my voice, and they would say lines from it, send it back. I just got something, actually, while we were about to talk, I just got a text from West Point. He teaches at actually Fordham University, I believe, but he's also an officer from West Point. Because I only remember that because I sat next to him on a flight. And he just told me we're having dinner, and I said your line about we're going to send it back, and I said, who is this? And I'm looking, oh, it's the West Point guy, the West Point from Fordham, because I put in it's almost neighborhood names. It almost sounds like Goodfellas. I have a nickname for everybody.
Yeah,
I have all different names, and that's how I remember better when I look in the contacts. If I don't remember someone's whole name, like you'll be in Buffalo, you'll be in Buffalo K-Rock, something like that, But I want to say also, this is a tremendous event. I'm honored to be there with Bill, and he's such a great family man and such a kind person, and he's brought film festivals, and this is probably the first event he's had. To my knowledge, they haven't had the film festival since his daughter's passing, and it's a very important event to be at, and I'm glad I'm coming in from California, and we're going to have all sorts of fun out there on Sunday. I think I don't know if there's dinner auctions or what he has planned for me for Saturday, but Sunday it's going to be like, hey, meet and greet, hey, let's take selfies, maybe I'll have some pictures, hey, let's sign that. You want to hear a story? As you can see now, after a few cups of tea, and I have no problem talking, so where were we? Do you want to hear about The Natural?
Yeah, of course. Like, I mean, obviously, people want to know how you and Bill became friendly, and a lot of that had to do with your involvement with The Natural and his idea of doing a documentary about the film. And obviously, you were a part of the film, and gosh, you can go up and down the list of the characters that were in that movie: Redford and Glenn Close and Basinger and Wilford Brimley and Danny Aiello. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Danny Aiello Jr. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, and gosh, what an iconic movie still today.
Yeah. Darren McGavin. I mean, it was so many. It was such a great experience. And what's funny is that Bill contacted me about a film festival. Each time when he started off, there was something happened. I couldn't go. Then he was trying to produce a film, and things fell through. And then finally goes, I want to do a documentary on The Natural. And he's such a character. He got to talk to Wilford Brimley, Robert Redford. It was amazing. Our friends John Van Ness and Barry Kibble, who were players in it, legitimate players, but also wonderful actors, top shelf actors. John had met what was the prison one that Redford did? Blake with the B, Brubaker.
Yeah.
And Barry and I had played softball. We had worked together, and Barry was in so many cool films, and you see him showing up, and they were on The Natural, and he got all these people and got all these interviews, and he hunted people down, and he got me, and it was a wacky day, and he went around in his RV with a small crew, and we found a place finally to film it. So he called me up about this because he came and visited me another time when he was visiting his daughter in San Diego, and he said, "I'm going to go down there, but just want to stop by." We had lunch or whatever. We talked. He had a dog. He's such he builds all these things and tree houses in North Tonawanda, and so that's why I'm doing this. We became really good friends, and he's very has a very interesting history. If you look up Bill Cowan, actually, he's put out a post and his pictures with me, pictures with his daughter, a picture with his daughter, and I think it'd be a fun event. People come out. I know the Bills might be playing that day, but they don't play for 8 or 10 hours. So
No. They play on Thursday, so you're good.
Oh, they play Thursday. Oh, no wonder.
So you're good.
Because it just occurred to me the other day. I said, "What are they playing?" Oh Lord. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, they're good. And you're rooting for Buffalo against Miami, correct?
Always. Oh,
yeah, good. So I mean, did you grow up a Jet or a Giant guy?
Giants. My brother Bo actually was with the Jets, and things fell through the year of the Super Bowl, 1969. But I was always. We used to listen to the Giants play in the old NFL on the radio in the 50s. I'm old enough to say that.
Sam Huff, Frank Gifford, guys like that.
Huff, that was the first, I think, ever they did a documentary on Mike Sullivan. It was called The Violent World of Sam Huff, and they followed him. And Jimmy Brown was playing for the Browns at the time, and my friend Lou Cordelio was actually traded for Y.A. Tittle to the 49ers.
Wow.
Yeah, he played on 5 NFL teams in the All-Century Clemson team. He's from Jersey City. He still looks fabulous in his age, working out. Yeah, that was Sam. Boy, how'd you come up with those names? That's great. Yeah, Jim Cabbage. Oh, I knew the whole thing. Eddie Robustelli. With great Baltimore teams and Johnny Unitas, and they had the famous game which made the NFL, and still Giant fans are saying we didn't get the call on Gifford. But 58 and was one of the greatest games ever, they said. And then, of course, in 69, Namath with the Super Bowl made the AFL. But I go back to my friend Freddie Gillott from Buffalo. His favorite guy, Joe DeLamalura. He used to actually train some of these guys in lifting because Freddie was tremendous. He was one of the original trainers, And Reggie, was it the other
Reggie McKenzie?
McKenzie.
Yep.
And they had such great teams. And there was a wide receiver I got to be friends. I got to know a bit at some of these events. And now I'm going to put his name for later on for the Bills. And boy, they had such great teams. And, the Giant game, we know how ridiculously close that was. And they shouldn't be the guy for that. When it wasn't the Giants, I always tried to root for Buffalo, and still, the KC game when I have.
Okay, stop.
Yeah.
No, we don't want to talk about the KC.
Well, of course not. And then should have, would have, could have. But
right.
I have on my wife's side of the family, my sister-in-law's son-in-law, and this who's from Buffalo, who's this. So that day we were I said, "Don't turn it off yet." And my wife really doesn't watch football. I said, "No, you can. Please, would you come and watch this?" Because she said, "What's all these? We're getting all these texts and emails from." Yeah, that's right. We shouldn't continue that one, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. It hurts a little, but
but they still have a strong team.
Sure.
So the wacky game the other day, but I'm trying to think of some of the people, and we actually filmed The Natural at the old rock pile.
Sure.
On Jefferson, and they told me that's where O.J. Simpson played this and that. Mm-hmm. They told me that the end zone was a yard short. They just, how it has to be 10 yards. It was 9 yards. They told me, but it was such an experience to be in that. And here I was in a show that had a great run off Broadway. I went in and did rep theater, and I was telling you off camera, and then I came back, and the show closed in one night. Trying to figure out, my wife hasn't even gone back to school yet. I think she was not in med school, but she might have started going back. I met her. She was a musician, and now she's pediatric cardiothoracic surgeon. If I can say, it took me 20 years to learn to say that. Volunteered around the world, done amazing things, and people just, come up all the time and thank. She's the opposite of me, quiet, centered, and humble, but super compassionate, hardworking. She's out helping someone now. But she was going back, just starting going. We moved back into Queens, and she was starting to go to school. I'm trying to think, and I'm going, how the heck am I going to pay the rent? And Lou DiGiamo calls me up. I had 3 kids at the time. Now I have 6 grandchildren. Lou DiGiamo, famous casting director, did so many great things. And he said, you want to show up and for The Natural? I said, Lou, not a baseball player, but and you can't fake it. I said, but he said, well, come out, try. I said, okay. And I decide I'm going to go out there. And Barry Levinson had just directed, I believe, his first movie, The Diner. Or Diner. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to get this job playing baseball, but he's going to remember me, for his next film or down the road. So I'm just going to have fun. I show up with a fez. Hard to explain, from a British comedian, Tommy Cooper, and I play this degenerate ex-jock in this great show off Broadway, Guys in the Truck. It was about behind the scenes stuff. And I would come in wrecked in the show, and have to straighten out. And the other guy was very straight with me in the booth. But I show up there, I take all this old school things like Brill cream or things like that it's mentioned on Seinfeld, I think. I grease my hair up. I did a crash course with the 90-year-old played Joe Lawson and Joe Fitz at AAA Met, worked with the Mets, God rest both their souls. And I tried to do, I'm going to learn how to play baseball in a week or whatever. But I figured I'll carry on, So I'm getting updates on different games. So anyway, I go there and I just clown around. And you might know a guy who produced, a famous guy from the French Connection, Sonny Grasso, became a producer. But I knew his brother-in-law, and I eventually my brother worked with Sonny and they did an emergency service. He produced a lot, but Sonny was a character. And his brother-in-law was an Irish guy named Mickey Trainer, and he talked like that. And we had met when I did the movie Cruising, because we both were terrible drivers and we were laughing about it. So now we're telling stories. We had a mutual friend. My oldest brother had been a company, but we had a mutual friend who was just a really nutty guy, and we were laughing, telling stories, right? So I go out and I try out and trying to play baseball, and I dig in really close. They said, you're too close. I said, no, because I know I couldn't reach home. So I get one thing and I just launch it, right? And then he said, can we see you play, Mike? I said, oh, come on, Barry. I told my wife she should have let me take that shot of Butazals. I can't. I'm hurt. I got the bad shoulder. All right, I'll try. So I glom up this ball. I said, let me show you my knuckleball. The ball does absolutely nothing. I said, well, I guess I don't have a knuckleball, do I? And I'm laughing and I'm playing, and you got like real, as you'd say, a lot of real people, as you see in the movie, guys. Phil Mankowski played with the top. We had all these guys from Buffalo, guys who played real AA ball and AAA, and maybe Joe Charbonneau. And when we got there, but here I am, I said, I'm not going to be able to fake it, but he'll remember me. So I just said, that's over. I sit down with Mickey. We're way up in Manhattan by Columbia Presbyterian, my wife worked, but there was Baker's Field where the baseball team played at. And I think the football team, maybe they practiced there. And I'm sitting there, and we're in the dugout laughing. And we're waiting. We're going to go have drinks with Lou DiGiamo. And we're just laughing, telling stories. I wasn't, I hope Barry finds this funny. No, I just gave up. That's it. Well, what happened was the next week, Lou DiGiamo came up and said, Mike, you didn't lie to me. You can't play baseball. I said, I told you. So we laughed. I said, okay, thanks for giving me a shot, The next week, Lou DiGiamo says that Barry Levinson says, where's that big guy? Where's that big funny guy? So Lou says, he can't play baseball. I said, I don't care. I want him. So I get this call, and Mark Johnson, great producer, you see his name, and he let me do, I did a FedEx commercial. I got thrown off the air for being offensive to the post office, but he let me shoot it, and I came up late there. And I'm there like dodging baseballs. The balls are flying by. Get out in the outfield. Tony Ferrara, the Yankee batting practice guy. He was one of our technical advisors, and he, showing us he was running, and I'm like ducking baseballs. And Barry Levinson says, "Mike Starr, get the hell off the field. Don't get hurt. Come over here. I don't want you playing out there." So I said, "Oh, okay," and I was starting to make friends. Eddie Seipod, who was with the Mets organization, and now is a Catholic priest. I'm with all these guys, and Eddie and certain people they had seen me in theater, and I was only in a couple of films at the time, and maybe a fair amount of commercials I was starting to get and things like that. So I get off there, and Barry Levinson says, "Listen, I need you just to come up with something funny. I need you one-liners." Now, this was interesting. He told me this. I hope this is interesting to you. He said, "We have so many stars on this and it was better that he was honest with me, because I learned so much from this later on, and even incorporated things in Goodfellas to a degree. And in other shows, he said, you are not going to be on. It'll be 10 to 30 seconds. I want you to think in that frame." I said, "Okay. Every now and then I need you to say something." And he said, "But I'm just going to have you. We got to create." That's when he created the name the character. I'm going this and that. And I had mentioned to you that on my first film, which was in Japan, I got to be friends with Richard Boone. We had named our son the middle name after it. And Boone, we did Boone, and everybody, including Robert Redford, got the name in. Boonski. I think I told you the story, how he improvised, and and to this day now, my grandson can say Boone, Mikey Boone, and people see that name, and I get the ring with Boone on it, the championship ring. And I'm sorry, sometimes I go off I start telling different stories. Too much green and black tea today. But I wanted to be right for this. So anyway, I got that, and I started. And like, for instance, you'll see Robert Redford the first time he comes in, and they show him, we're all supposed to be looking at him. And Barry Levinson said, "I want you to insult him somehow, say something bad about him." I said, about him, because he's an older guy in it, he's the, and Brimley has to ask him, "How come you didn't play for the last 20 years or whatever, And so I look over I think it was Ricky Olivetti, he wound up working with Buffalo with the Sabres, but Ricky was a Double-A Dodger, I believe. But you see him get ahead in time, and he really knew his stuff. He was great family guy too. And I lean over to him. I go, "There's another brilliant find from our scouting chain. Geniuses." And stuff like that. Some things got in, something did. We were trying to do a whole thing with, I'd be late for the, when they do the hypnotist scene, and I'd say I had a little something, sorry, And there was a line that didn't get in. And so Mickey Trainer, the guy I mentioned, they combined the equipment guy and the trainer, or whatever, the Doc and Dizzy. He became Doc Dizzy. And you'll see him in the movie. He's the guy that talked like that. He's Sergeant Brimley. They had improvs that the crew just went crazy over. Some made it, some didn't. But he talked about movies in the 30s and the 40s, that Brian Dunlap. And people just adored him, and him and Brimley improving together. And of course, the great Richard Farnsworth with Wilford Brimley. It's just, here I was wondering how I was going to pay the rent. Now I'm at this place, and we're eating gourmet food, and Wilford Brimley and Richard Farnsworth, and eventually Robert Duvall. They're taking us out, especially Kenny, who was the pitcher, Kenny Grisano, and Danny Aiello Jr., and Eddie Seipot. The four of us, especially, we were like it was like being the Little Rascals. Everybody kind of wanted to hang out with us. There's like all these big stars, and they're catering to them. And we were out there just laughing, having fun, and I'm hanging out with crew guys, and of course Caleb Deschanel was the great DP, and his daughters, of course, super successful, talented actors in series. And Caleb's assistant, one of his is Bobby Brown, and my friend Bobby Brown and Alan Disler. We'd hang out with the crews, and we'd walk around eating for free everywhere. And I even went in. I took people out to famous bars in Buffalo. I took the crew out. And
where'd you take him to? Do you remember?
I remember going to Cole's, I think it was.
Okay, still there.
I don't know if we went to Mulligan's, but Cole's, because my friend Freddie had worked in all these places, so he sent me there. I remember one place they introduced us, and I told the crew, just so you, I think I had from my friend Bernie Wells' Rocky Mountain Stunt Group, so people thought we were the stunt team. So I turned to the Barone brothers, who were electricians from Staten Island, working on a cup. I said, if anyone asks you, you're a stuntman, okay? And the bartender said, so we all drank for free and had a great time. And there was so many great stories. And it was funny to come back a year later, because I had worked in the theater, at the Studio Arena Theater in Buffalo. It's a tremendous theater. And I had worked there doing Of Mice and Men. And I even saw, there was the Singers Gym. I didn't know anything about boxing, but I mean, you know, because when people say, "Oh, I'm a boxer," yeah. No, I'm talking. And I remember working out there before the show, and there was a young flyweight, and he came to me and said, "Heavyweight, what are you doing?" Because I had gained weight from the show, and he said, "What happened to you? What's going on?" I said, "Oh, I'm doing this show, but I'm going to try to get back into shape." Okay, great. But there was so many. I used to go to the store Tent City in downtown Buffalo. Yep. And they were just having the sesquicentennial or something soon after, whatever, because they had the Bisons was the team. Mm-hmm. And I think they were hooked up with the Pirates at the time.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
So you know these times. And first time I had chicken wings was probably when, you know, at a known restaurant, Paul Guidry, the linebacker from the Bills from the 70s and early 80s. And I would have some nice talks with him. And then I finally got to go to the Anchor Bar and find out the whole history. And this is before wings really took off, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And Danny Aiello Jr., God rest his soul, he would eat, he just loved the chicken wings. We'd find places, and Wilford would take us out. And then Robert Duvall had a place just across the border, I think, a Chinese restaurant. We'd go places, but Wilford would just take us all over the place. The first week or two, we were kind of on our own, and we paid a cab driver to take us around. And this guy, Joe Mosca, went with us. And he would take us to Italian restaurants, and I couldn't tell you right now what the names were, but every day was a event and a party, and I learned so much, you know. And you watch Redford collaborate with Barry Levinson, and the whole thing, the Wonder Boy. I was part of all of it, and it got to the point, you know. I'm one of those people that says, be very careful. Don't say, you know, if you're doing a war movie, something like that, don't say, "Oh, I know what it was like." No. Or say, "We trained just like the Marines." No, don't ever say that to anybody, you know. Or war, or people play mobsters or cops, or I mean, they start thinking they are, or they behave like that a bit. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking anyone. Sometimes people get, you know, and people think I always separate the reality, but I have to tell you, it was so crazy when we do the championship game. And was sitting there, and it's a foul ball. I was getting so into it. Not that I, you know, went really on the field, but it was such a great experience filming that, you know.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, and celebrating.
And it sounds certainly that you're very fond of Buffalo and Western New York, and I can speak
Absolutely.
For you know, the folks from here. Again, and I'm going to go back to Mike Starr's filmography. I mean, you've been doing this for 45 years, and ever since you started in the late 70s, you have been busy. I mean, you've been busy nonstop with blockbuster movies, up and down. It's crazy, man. And you.
By the way, could I just? Yeah. You said Western New York. Do you know the Kansas scene at the end?
Yeah,
that was Western New York, and everything was there. We did some stuff in L.A. because Caleb Deschanel in Santa Monica, when he lit the famous, one of the many famous shots he's made of the piers there, but. Wilford Brimley had to say, because, you know, he was a West guy, you know, from the West and lived in Utah. He said, "I got to tell you something. Yeah, I got to tell you, some of the most beautiful country I've ever seen, I wouldn't know would be in the state of New York."
Right.
And the people were just being educated on Buffalo and surrounding areas, you know.
And if they could see it now, Mike Starr is going to be in town on Sunday. Bill Cowell is from the Niagara Falls Film Foundation, and his daughter Alyssa sadly passed recently, and there's going to be a celebration of life that Mike will be at this Sunday, 2 to 10 p.m. up in North Tonawanda. We're going to scroll the number that you can call. You'll call Debbie, and she's got a phone number. We'll scroll that for you throughout the interview, and just call that number if you want to see Mike. And Mike can carry on. That's for sure. So he's going to be there for 8 hours, and that's probably still not long enough for him.
Oh, I'll be, you know, I had a friend Luigi, a chef from way up in Imola near Bologna. What a character! He was a Chicago character that everyone loved, and he was close friends with Mark Grates. He would take me to so many places and restaurants. But he used to say he was an iconic character in Chicago. We lost him a few years ago, but he would say, "Mike is star." You know, I've known a lot of celebrities, and I've seen the people bother celebrities. Mike Starr's the only celebrity he bothers the people. He goes up, couples trying to eat their dinner, and he goes, "Oh, hey, what are you eating? What are you doing?"
That's hysterical.
And I get lit up. I start talking too much. You know, sometimes people like it, sometimes they don't. But then people say, "No, Keith." I said, "I'm talking too much." Go, no. I want to hear the story.
Yes. I mean, I wish here's the deal. You and I are gonna. I hope we can do this more because I'm having a blast. I can't. We've touched on that much of your career. Yeah. And it's been amazing so far. And I just want to ask you, so you just did an impersonation. You worked with Christopher Walken. Everybody does a Christopher Walken impersonation. Let's see yours.
It doesn't come near Kevin's. Kevin, does it. And there's some people have done it. But I can tell you, I worked with him on Kill the Irishman, but I didn't work with him. I mean, I saw him walking by, and I just told people like extras, and do me a favor, don't tell him, more cowbell or whatever. But he was from Queens. His family, I think, had a German bakery. But when one of my favorite experiences ever, and Kevin Smith loved it, was Mad Dog and Glory, right? And I didn't audition for it. The craziest thing was, in the 90s, I was very lucky to be part of if I gave you a list of the people, Robert De Niro down in Tribeca was starting to really develop a lot of the areas, doing great things for New York and great things for New York filmmaking all over the state, but in the city. And he would have readings. I mean, Danny DeVito had the one about Hoffa. We and Keith David, Pankow. But there was really big, famous treat one with that. Eli Walker. There was so many people there would come in and read. We'd read characters. It didn't mean you were going to play the part. Some I could be reading 5, but I wound up getting that with Mad Dog and Glory, and I'm just trying to think why I even went down this road. But
talk about Walken.
So Walken, what happened was Robert De Niro looked at both roles. So what we did was Stanley Tucci had read a role in the morning, right? That De Niro eventually did. Stanley and I did things, and so we did 2 sessions. So sometimes it'd be in a big thing. It was a small place, but always catered by the Tribeca restaurant, which I wound up playing a little softball for, showing up. Any place I could get a free meal, but that was a lot of fun. And Christopher Walken came in and played the part that De Niro wound up playing, but De Niro wanted to hear both, and he wasn't sure what he was going to play. I guess, I don't know. But we did 2 versions. The only reason I tell you that, this is my only conversation ever with Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken, we were eating right at the buffet, and he looked at me and goes, like he knew me for years. He went, "Was I supposed to be here this morning?" And that's all I ever said.
That's pretty good.
Was I supposed to be here this morning? And it was so nice. I mean, everyone just loves him. And I turned to him and I said, "No, Chris, no, you're going to read the second part." I'm a producer. Yeah. I said, we did it with someone else, and now you're going to do the second. He goes, "Oh, okay, thank you. That was that's my best Christopher Walken.
That is so good. That's so good.
That's how I get into
less acting. Is more. Less is more. That's great. That's great.
Next time I'll tell you my John Lennon story.
Please. I mean, I want to make this go. And my God, man, I mean, this is you, even though you're not from here, I can tell that Buffalo's rubbed off on you based purely on your humility, And I so appreciate that, because you talk about the people that you've worked with like they are, and arguably they are, but they are your peers, and yet you talk to them like they are your heroes, which is so remarkable. And I appreciate that. I mean, look, for you that are watching, if you don't know the people that Mike Starr has worked with, let me just run down a few names, okay? You already mentioned De Niro. How about Pacino? How about Duvall, who we mentioned? How about Redford, who we mentioned? How about
Gene Wilder?
Gene Wilder, Tom Cruise, Woody Allen, Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, Tom Hanks, Jack Nicholson, Kevin Costner. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and
learn
on.
from every one of them. Learn from everyone. Morgan Freeman gave me a ride home when my wife was in med school. We lived in the Bronx, and he drove me right to the door. Him and his wife.
It was driving Miss Mikey.
I didn't even think of that. I never even thought of the connection. Oh God. Yeah, I've been pretty lucky, and you know the Woody Allen movie Zelig.
Yeah.
He just shows up. I mean, it's real fun. A lot of times I said I feel like Zelig, you know, showing up like the third guy from the right or the left, you know, like that, you know, like that, like Ricky Gervais doing extras, you know, when he kept popping in, him and his friend in the scenes. Yeah, that's. I'm hoping that, you know, there's a whole film business up in Buffalo. I mean, a lot of like shooting up there. Yeah. Friends of mine.
Some big films have come through here.
Yeah, geez.
And you know, big movie houses are opening up, you know, all the time, and it's obviously, you know, relatively inexpensive to make movies here, and a lot of governmental breaks for movie makers and guys like Bill Cowell and other folks in the Western New York film industry have done great work to bring great people here. And I think most of them have the same kind of, if they've never been here before, the same kind of experience you had, which is really, really awesome. It makes us very proud, you know, as natives and civically of what Buffalo is and stands for. So
it's true, you know, and people like Dennis Farina and Joe Mantegna, you know, there's a similarity with the, you know, when you're in Buffalo and Chicago, there's a similarity where you feel like a more down to earth, blue collar thing when you're with people like that, you know. It's just, you know, I would tell people at Buffalo, I said, oh, no, there's a whole world up there you don't know about.
Yeah, which you do not get where you're at now in California, do you? I mean, it is a different world for sure, but way different.
Absolutely.
So Sunday, 2 to 10 p.m., North Tonawanda, Bill Cowell, in celebration of his daughter Alyssa's life. And of course, you go way back with Bill, who has been such a huge, impactful person in the film industry here in Western New York. If you want to go, call Debbie, 716-581-2256, 716-581-2256, or text her. That's Debbie, and you can come and see Mike. It's that easy in North Carolina on Sunday.
Debbie has a great story too that Bill got involved with her and the son and everything. There's so many stories up there, and it's human, and I'm excited about coming up.
Well, we'll call you and adopt that. Listen, anybody that was in The Natural is automatic Buffalonian. So and the fact that you've been to the places like Coles and Anchor Bar, and you actually worked for a very short time as a bouncer, you told me pre-taping, as a bouncer in Buffalo.
I hid behind my friend Freddie from North Carolina.
It's just awesome, the history, man. I really appreciate you doing this, and thanks for coming up, obviously, for the celebration on Sunday. And I'm asking you, can we please do this again?
Absolutely. Once a week, 3 times a day.
Awesome. Right? Awesome. Well, I mean,
I have a lot of stories to cover.
I know. Well, let's do I'll be your ghostwriter, and we'll do your biography, your autobiography. We'll do it. We'll do a video version of it.
And that's my wife, Dr. Starr, the pediatrician, calling me to tell me she's on her way home, I hope.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Well, again, thank you so much for doing this. Mike Starr, again, if you want to go and meet Mike.
Please come out.
Yeah.
People come out. This is going to be so much fun and special, and I'll have stories for everybody. Anything you want to talk about.
Sunday the 15th at NT. I mean, Goodfellas, Dumb and Dumber. Google, just Wikipedia Mike Starr, not the Alice in Chains guy, the actor, and see what he's been in. Right?
Mike Starr with 2 R's, translated from the Polish side. My grandparents on my dad's side were Polish immigrants. The name was Gwiazda, which means star in the sky, and I guess my dad added an R.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you've not been to Buffalo Polonia, that's another place you need to go. We need to take you to.
Oh, all right, definitely.
We'll take you to Dingus Day right around Easter next year, okay?
Used to hear about Dingus Day, yeah.
Yeah, man. All right, well, thanks again. I so appreciate you, and we'll be in touch and do this again.
Right, thank you so much.
You bet, man.